And that is an original composition by Aaron McGowan. We are so blessed. So we're lighting we already lit our fourth candle. Josiah lit it for us. And this is the fourth Sunday in Advent. So I'd like to begin by affirming once again our statement that goes with it. So if you'll find that in your program, I shift my identity, that one. So let's affirm that. I shift my identity from ego to essence. I manifest my real self through this body now. I manifest my real self through this body now. So it's 2012 and we're all still here. So on Facebook there were lots of postings the next day, and a couple of my favorites. One was the crabby looking kitty, and the kitty said, "Worst apocalypse ever." Someone else wrote, "Well, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or anything, but this is about the 6th end of the world that I've survived." Another said, "Don't worry, Mayans, if you get it wrong, it's not the end of the world." There were 20,000 people who came to the ruins of the ancient Chichen Itza, and that's not, I mean, 20,000 is a lot, but usually people go there anyway for the solstice events to celebrate that. And so there were prayers and rituals and all these things happening there. And this one man was blowing on the conch shell, these long, sonorous tones, and, you know, he was telling everybody, he said, you know, it's already arrived. It's already here. We're in the frequency of love, and we're in a new vibration. And he no sooner ended saying that than a security guard came up to him and said, "You can't blow that conch shell here unless you have a permit." And so life goes on. Life goes on. We're awake and we still need a permit for things. So again, we lit this candle this week for the birth of the Christ child, and shifting one's identity from ego to essence. And we've combined the Christmas story this year with Barbara Marx Hubbard's work in the book Emergence. So I just want to do a brief review of the Advent candles, Emergence, and the Christmas story. So it begins with creating an inner sanctuary, which is what the shepherds did by being out in the fields with their flocks by night, watching the sheep or watching our thoughts. And it is the first step in spiritual growth, isn't it? Is to become still, is to become quiet and be comfortable with that silence so that we can hear the voice of God, and so that we can hear the guidance, whether it comes in the form of feelings or sights or sounds or a voice or whatever it may be. And then the second Sunday we lit the Advent candle for the wise men, who symbolize for us that we're in community. They were in community with each other. We are supported by wise men and women. We are supported by wise beings. And they followed their star. Barbara Marx Hubbard would call that, follow your compass of joy. Follow your talents, your skills, your gifts. Because as we follow that, we awaken to the essence of who we are. We discover the essence of the Christ, the Spirit of God within. It is also the disciples that ran into Herod, that ran into the ego, that ran into the pain body. And the ego will seek to kill that awakening that is happening. And last week, we honored Joseph and Mary, the Holy Family, which symbolizes the inner male and female, the inner authority, the inner provider, the one who stands in our truth, and the inner nurturer, compassion and kindness. And that when we balance those two energies and bring them together, we become co-creators of a new world, which is what we need, yeah? So coming to the conclusion of our emergence material, coming to the conclusion of our Christmas story, we birth the Christ. We awaken to the Spirit of God within. We move from ego to essence and manifest my real self through this body right now. Now, Barbara Marx Hubbard said that part of moving from ego to essence is having a willingness to trust that Spirit is working in our lives, that God is working in our lives, that divine order is manifesting. And one of the things she says is try to leave a little open space in your day. You know how we schedule everything? Leave a little open space in your day so that Spirit, so that God has a chance to show up. Because things can look differently and be greater than what we thought. So a very tiny example of this is every year I like to get a real Christmas tree. And I have my rituals and my traditions that I follow every year. And, you know, I'm thinking it's probably time to shake things up and change them a little bit. So I decided not to get a tree and to wait for my daughter to come home from college. And she came home and I said, so I haven't gotten a tree yet, not sure what to do. And she said, you know, Mom, I want you to get a fake tree this year. I really would like you to get a fake tree. And I've kind of stood like, no, I like real trees. And she said, you know, sometimes, not often, but sometimes a real tree will trigger allergies for me. So let's consider a fake tree. So I said, all right. So we went out, we bought a fake tree, and it's beautiful. It's 7 feet tall, and it's very skinny, it's very thin, and so it fits perfectly in my living room, and all the ornaments and all the stuff that we have, and truthfully, it's the nicest Christmas tree that I've ever had. And again, it's a small example, but I had to let go of my vision of how I thought things should be, of how, you know, we always do it, because when we can let go of I know best and know how to do it, and we allow room for Spirit, we allow room for God to enter in. So this is true not just with small things in life, but big things. There is a divine order, there is a higher plan that is working in our lives. And if you think about the situations that you've experienced, didn't it seem as if there was a larger hand at play? And you may not have seen it in the moment, but something better, something good came out of what you could not have created on your own. So this is the idea of moving from ego to essence. So moving from ego to essence is not just about I'm calling it in, but I'm standing in it. I don't need to call in the presence of God. I am the presence of God. I stand in that. I move. I speak. I have my entire being from this place. The truth is that we are living in accelerated times. Things are changing very rapidly, and we are changing as well. I was reading the book Jump Time by Jean Houston, and I want to share with you, because she does it so beautifully, the way she describes the evolution and the changes in life. She said the first jump, so this is called a jump time, and how we're jumping to different levels of awareness and consciousness. The first jump was the Big Bang, an explosion of light and sound so intense that whatever was before or from some other where imploded itself into a tiny charge of hydrogen and jumped into universal form. Another jump came for us when elements spun out of the explosion. Many jumps of cooling, crusting, boiling, steaming, raining, seas of foam, until the Earth's crust was formed. It's a setup for the biggest jump of all, which is life. Lightning spikes the Earth, molecules break apart and recombine, jumping through change after chemical change. Jump. Cell walls that move and flex, letting food in and waste out. Jump. Bacteria form, creating food for themselves. Oxygen is released. Jump. Cope with oxygen. Jump. Grow or die. Cooperate or perish. Make agreements. Enjoy diversity. Jump. The mothers and fathers of us all were born. The nucleated cell. Jump. Sexual reproduction. Plants, sea creatures, land creatures, dinosaurs, jump. Heads up, snouts rise, eyes converge, and brains grow. Jump. Walking upright. Jump. Vocal communication. Jump. Awareness of ourselves. Jump. tool making, clothes wearing, plant gathering, seed setting, wheel turning, horse training, water channeling, loom spinning, food storing, jump. Bureaucracy and empire, religions and scriptures, the Buddha, Confucius, Christ. Jump. Book scribing, print pressing, art making, playwriting, telescopes, microscopes, spectroscopes, and stethoscopes. Jump. Vaccination, sanitation, medication, refrigeration, computers, air travel, space travel. Jump. Human knowledge is doubling every 10 years. Each jump in complexity occurring in a fraction of the time as the previous one. And we find in our own personal lives that we are jumping. We jump professions and lifestyles and religions and partners. We jump. And when I look at this, and when I look at history, it's amazing how brilliant we are and how creative we are. We're brilliant. And yet it's time for us, for our minds and our brilliance, it's time for our souls and our spirits to catch up with our brilliance. I've been watching the documentary by Oliver Stone about the history of the United States. And it covers before World War II. And there were a few things that I did not know, that Roosevelt's vice president was a man named Walker, who was a Buddhist. And in those days, the convention chose who the vice president would be rather than the president. And Roosevelt was too sick to go to the last convention. And of course, it was assumed that Walker would be the vice president, because he'd already been the vice president. But through a series of unfortunate events, politics, he was not the vice president. Truman was. And 4 months later, when Roosevelt died, Truman stepped into the position, and he was not qualified to do that. And Wallace had the same mind as Roosevelt and had the same policies as him for peace and for carrying on what his beliefs were. And of course, we ended up dropping the atomic bomb, and Eisenhower came in and whatever. But when I look at the past, when I look at all that, and I think what amazing brilliance that we have, and yet so much of it has been used for destruction. So much of it has been used for domination. And we need to start catching up with our brilliance. We need to start catching up with all these things that we know, because we're light years ahead. We're jumping in time. And now what we're being called to do is to jump again, but this time to jump spiritually, to jump in our love, to jump in our compassion, so that the two match up. So instead of using the intelligence and the brilliance that we have for destruction, we're using the intelligence and brilliance we have is for healing and for bringing the world together, I think would be good. It is as if we are waking up. I can feel it and I can see it. I can see it all over how we are waking up. It's like the scales are being removed from our eyes. And I believe that it feels like we're reaching a tipping point in our tolerance for violence with these shootings that happened over a week ago. And, you know, sometimes we move from news story to news story, and we can just leave behind what we heard about and let it go. And we wonder, how can we not only change what's happening, but how do we do something good? Because this is where our teachings, you know, this is where the rubber meets the road. We stand here every Sunday and we say, there is one presence and one power in the universe, God the good, omnipotence. And then we see things like the shootings happen, and we go, okay, so what was that? Where's the good? And yet if you look in your own life at every tragedy that you might have called a tragedy in your life, and is a tragedy, something good is born from that. So I was reading an article in the Huffington Post, and a woman was shopping at Target this week, and she found a white envelope in her cart that was not hers. And on the envelope was written, "Please open, this is for you." And she thought, it's not for me, I don't know what this is, and she was going to take it to customer service. She picked up the envelope, and it was open. So she looked inside, and inside the card was a gift card to Target for $20. Along with the gift card was a note, and the note said this: "Random acts of kindness. You are number 8 of 26. And then it said, "In memory of Catherine Hubbard, age 6, a victim of the Connecticut shootings." Another sentence that said, "Please pay it forward." She took her card and held on to it, and she said she later gave it to a bank teller. And there is a national campaign that is calling for acts of kindness, 26 acts of kindness or 28 acts of kindness for each of the victims of Newtown, Connecticut. She said that she brought a gift basket to the deli, and I think about that, and that story really touched me. That what if we each one of us here, did 28 acts of random kindness in memory of what happened in Connecticut. And it would never bring those kids back or answer any questions about what happened really, but it would be a seed of good that would come out of that. So I'm gonna challenge you to do 26, 28 acts of kindness. And it doesn't have to be this week. I mean, you could do one a day. Then it would last a month. Wouldn't that be great? And so we were brainstorming at the first service this morning, acts of kindness that we could do. So I want to actually hear some from you guys. What would be an act of kindness that you could do? A random act of kindness. I need you to shout it out back there. So giving out candies to random people on the bus. She did it 2 years ago, and people light up when she hands them a candy. It's like the kid in you comes out.
A friend of mine told me and asked me to sing a song to her over the telephone. So I'm doing that tonight.
So a friend of yours asked you to sing a song, and you're going to do that tonight. Thank you. I'm going to hand you the mic because we can't really hear.
I helped form a support group in my building. We have 12 people looking out for each other.
Nice. Random acts of kindness. Karen.
Offer to return someone's shopping cart for them.
Return their shopping cart for them. Jan, you gotta stand up.
28 stuffed animals to kids that look like they need a hug.
Give up your seat on a flight to someone who needs to get home.
Whoa, there's a big one. Give your seat up on a flight to somebody who needs to get home. Diane.
Well, this I didn't do, but I very much appreciated the person that did. I was coming from
Mic in the mouth.
I was coming from the grocery store, and my bags were really heavy, and this gentleman helped me on the bus with them. And then he said, "How are you going to get home?" And I said, "Oh, gosh, I'm not sure yet." And he said, "I'll walk you home." And he carried my bags all the way to my apartment.
Nice. Random acts of kindness.
Well, like you, Karen, I decided I needed to do something new for Christmas, and I had 10 boxes of Christmas decorations that had to come up 32 stairs. Didn't need them all. I took 2 boxes, 2 grocery bags to a senior home and gave it to them.
Nice. Laurie, and then Johnny.
We made bagged lunches and put special love notes
saying that we see you and we love you and you're so important and you can change anything that you want to change. And we brought them to the homeless people that will not go into shelters, that nobody will approach, and found them all over the city, just in weird places.
Nice. Johnny, can you?
Take care of some stray kitties, maybe adopt a kitten, or give to animal shelters in honor of the kids who loved animals so much.
Johnny's a kitty mama. Okay, one more.
Buy some children's books and give them to a daycare.
So these are great. And I went online, and a couple more are buy a lottery ticket for a stranger. A couple that came at the first service, a couple ideas were, if you're in a fast food line, pay for the person behind you in the car. Or if you're at Starbucks or Tully's, pay for the person behind you. Or the same in a restaurant, offer to pay for somebody's food that they don't know that it's you. Treat a friend to movies for no reason. Put change in a row of vending machines. I like that one. What? Or the parking meters, yes. And of course, you know, we have so much random acts of kindness that we do through our community service team with the heifer and collecting coats, which we're still doing. Yes, and give someone a ride who doesn't have a ride. Adopt a pet from a homeless shelter. Yes, these are all wonderful ideas. So I focus on this today because, you know, we're talking about this shift from ego to essence. We're talking about jumping time and evolving. And we are. I really believe that we are shifting, that we are changing, that we are waking up, that the scale is being removed from our eyes, and we're looking around and going, really? I don't think so. You know, it's time that we change things. And I'm seeing and hearing more and more people wake up to this, and it's going to happen really fast. I really believe that it's going to happen really fast. So I just want to do one short meditation with you to kind of ground this in. And if you're one of the people who like to bring journals and write, so I invite you just to take a deep breath for a moment as you ground yourself into your body. And one of the things Barbara Marx Hubbard said about living from ego to essence is that we begin to trust the higher power, the divine order, the divine pattern and plan that exists in our life. So I would like you to, for a moment, think about a time that was a crisis for you. And you would have called it bad. I'm not saying it wasn't bad, but just go there with that. And what happened in that moment of crisis is that seeds were planted in your soul's garden. And they may be seeds that you would never have searched for or looked for, but what is the good that grew out of that situation? And if you could take even another step back and seeing it from a higher perspective, what's the divine thread that runs through your life? The goodness that runs through your life. And again, it is when we let go of control that we can surrender and we can be open to the surprises that Spirit has for us. So we take a deep breath once again, and we open our eyes and come back. So we're at the end of 2012, and we're still here. And we're shifting. We're waking up. I shift my identity from ego to essence. I manifest my real self through this body now. Let's affirm that. I shift my identity from ego to essence. I manifest my real self through this body now. So rather than call it in, you are already there. You are already it. You are the essence. You are the divine one. You are the Christ. And that is what we celebrate this Christmas. Thank you.